Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Real with Jack and Cindy. I'm Cindy Morrison.
And I'm Jack Wallace. Welcome. Glad you're here. So it's an exciting week coming up for those of us that deal with...
No, I'm just kidding.
Those of us that deal with new construction, this is a big week. So this is the Parade of Homes. It's starting...
It starts on the 15th, runs through the 23rd.
Yeah.
So if you are not familiar with the Parade of Homes, basically there are more than 100 homes from, I think, 50-ish builders, right around in that. So people who do new construction for residential, they get a home ready, and it is a whole process. Like it's not like you just say the day before, hey, I really want to have my home in the Parade of Homes. You actually have to register it. There are all kinds of rules and regulations you have to do. You can enter the judging if you want. You don't have to.
Okay.
But it gives you an opportunity to be in front of the public. It's put on by the Tulsa, the Home Builders Association of Greater Tulsa's Home Build. HBA. There we go.
And is the public voting, or the professional voters? How is that?
So I don't know exactly who the
I know there's
the
some that are like
judges
public choice. So I think that the public does some of the voting, but I think there are other like people that they have come in and do the judging.
Yes. So professional people who know about buildings,
which is fun, but kind of crazy because really you're going to like your house. That, you know what I mean? It's a good way to overview because, you know, what is the best is kind of a weird thing to be putting it on, but it makes it more fun. It makes it more.
And then they do it in categories. So you might have, 250 to 300 and 300 to 350.
So that's nice because then the public kind of gets an idea. Like in my price range, this is what the public thinks is the best deal or the best builders or whatever. So that's cool.
And it wouldn't be fair to compare a $400,000 house to $1 million house. With $1 million, you can have a lot more things you can put in it, and fancy schmancy stuff.
I think the other thing that's nice is it gives you as the public kind of an idea of like what is my goal and what does that price point look like when you go out looking, because you're going to kind of see it does sort of what you get for the money shows up pretty quickly when you go look at the tour. So it's a really good way to kind of get a gauge if you're just getting started thinking how much would it even cost to get the kind of house that I want to get, and does that mean I need to wait a little while to save some more money, or does it mean that I'm ready to go? So
and even if you don't want to buy new construction, I think to be able to walk through and see, so this is something new. I mean, you can even update your own house with some of the ideas you walk through.
Which is what a lot, like I would say probably the majority of people, are really coming out. They're looking to get ideas. But the thing I always think is important too, as professionals that are on those houses, it's really you're also shaking hands with the public that obviously likes houses, obviously is interested in it, in what we're doing, and could potentially end up being buyers in the future or sellers. And I think also a lot of times they're sort of looking at people like, if I ever listed my house, I would want them to handle it. So I think it's a real opportunity for everyone involved, for those of us sitting on them, to show them what value which is such a big thing right now, but really show them the value that we provide with information, have information about the neighborhood, have information, how does that compare to secondary market in the area, schools, and all of those things. And that's what I think is really important. And I think that's really, it's just a condensed week of all that. So.
And I've only been like going to it as either somebody shopping for homes or as an agent the last 7 years, but this is my first time to actually be on a house. So it runs from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m.
every day.
So you know where to find me.
And then also you'll be able to have people that'll sit on them too, so that'll help you.
Jake is coming to help me out one day, but or a couple of days. But yes, so
you are fully committing that.
I'm in 100%. Yeah.
So our next podcast may be coming from that house.
Welcome to Envision Homes. Yes. But behind the scenes, and this hasn't happened with my builder, but I've known builders before who've been in this, and literally they are like finishing the floors the day before judging, or doing their punch list,
it's a lot to get done. And think about it, everybody, I mean, most builders are using a lot of the same vendors to get things done. So, the flooring guys and the framing guys and the staging people, like all of those are, entities are all being tasked at the same exact time on all these houses.
It's like being a flag making company right before the 4th of July.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
This is when you're going to sell the majority of your flags, so they better all be ready with all the stars and stripes on them.
Yeah, and most of the houses most of them will be furnished. So it's also kind of a cool thing if you're into interiors. You get to see sort of interesting and cool staging. So it's an amazing thing. I mean, it's a Tulsa tradition. I mean, it's a tradition in a lot of markets, but yeah, it's definitely a Tulsa tradition. So, well, I can't wait to talk to you about what you feel
when I'm passed out.
Yeah. I mean, through the years, I've done it both ways. It's like, and some builders will participate one year and not the next, and they, I mean, just how they want to do things and where they kind of are in the market in what stages with new houses.
Yes.
Because there's, some builders are like sold a lot of their inventory and they haven't started like yet the time in where you had that exact house ready to go and be a new house ready to go right at that moment. So yeah, so you're not going to see every builder in town necessarily, but you're going to see quite a bit of them.
And really every community. I mean, all the way from Stone Canyon to far Bixby.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really get an idea. And I love, you said this in a former podcast, that, if you think you want to live in this community, go visit the community, eat there, be there during rush hour. Like, this is a great opportunity for you to test out some of these different communities and see if you want to make a change.
Well, and that's what, through the years, there have been times when I've floated and been at different. So like maybe one Saturday I was at one neighborhood, and then a couple of days later I would move over to another neighborhood pretty far away. And it was funny how you'd see the same people come through. So, I mean, people really do. They check out all the houses in all the markets, or some people just really focus on what they're looking for. But, yeah, it's really fun. And I think that the other thing that's really great is it's a chance for us to really, have time with the public, and really, what a neat thing to get to see where people's minds are about trends, because I think that's it's changing again.
Always.
But it's really, we've had kind of a very one look for a while. I mean, it was very
modern farmhouse.
Yeah, and that kind of white and gray. And it's still very popular, and a lot of people love it, but there's a lot of people that are moving into deeper tones and wallpaper and
cream. I like the cream more than I like the white. White's just a little too stark for me.
It depends. It depends on the house for me.
True.
And it's funny because I kind of resisted it long, and then now my house is white, and I actually do like it.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, but I have a lot of color pops. So
that makes the difference
that
right
works
there
for me. But yeah, I think it's interesting though, because I've been doing this so long and did the design part. So now it's like
you started when you were 3, by the way.
I wish. Yeah, I don't know. No, there's funny though, because I'll see things now online where it'll show like a before and after, and I swear I get you're getting old when there's times I'm like, I don't know which is the before and which is the after, because it's got like all this crazy floral wallpaper and blah blah, and it looks good, but it's like, I remember doing that when I was first in design, and now here we are again. So it is funny how everything sort of comes back in a different way. So
the first bathroom that I walked in and they had flocked wallpaper, I was suddenly transported back to elementary school. I was like, wait, what? So
and the metallic
comes back.
Remember the metallic wallpapers? That was the big thing. I think that's going to start coming back. And I mean, and it's fun. I mean, it's like we all get bored. I do think it's interesting though that it's like, you really do have to get to a place in your life, you honestly do, where you go, this is kind of what I like. I'll make some variations and some updates, but if you keep trying to stay 100% on trend, it's impossible. You're just spending so much money. So, I mean, I think you have to, and that's what's so hard for builders.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to understand what is the general population wanting, but then what they really have to figure out is what is the buyer that is attracted to me and my building style looking for. And,
because you got to stay true to yourself, but yet you also want to make sure you're bringing in new clientele. It's kind of like that church, if you stay true to your actual congregation, they're eventually going to die off. So you want to make sure that you're bringing in new blood all the time, but how do you not lose your base?
And I think about it this way too, through all of this, the last few years, the one company that has really continued to thrive is Ralph Lauren. Like that, they have had great market share. They have done great through all of this last, inflation and trending and all that. And it's interesting because it is that higher end classic that has a twist to it, but that's the quality and not going too far off. So I think when you look at the higher end homes, sometimes the higher end homes end up being a little too on trend for the market that's actually buying them. Because you have to think about too, people have the furniture they have and they've collected through their life. They've got the things so it's like they look at the house and they go, this is absolutely beautiful, and my furniture absolutely will not fit here, and I don't want to buy all new furniture.
Yeah.
So finding that between those things. So it's like when you go looking, if you're going just to look for interior ideas, that's one thing. But if you're actually looking at the builder possibilities for you to buy a house, I think you have to weigh, okay, well, this style is really going to work with what I have, and I'm not going to have to spend all new, money on all new furniture or different accessories. Or maybe I'm done with it. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to downsize. I'm going to get rid of everything and I'm going to start all over. I am seeing that trend some.
If I ever moved states, which I'm not going to, but I would be like, I'm putting all of this on Facebook Marketplace, except for my favorite family pieces, and just starting. I mean, why pay the money to move it?
There's a real good point to that. I mean, there is, but it's also, it's like, I always say, it's that your house, it should be a diary of your life, in a way like it should show. So it's at a certain point, if you throw everything out, you're kind of giving yourself not that, like that layered of a life.
Yeah,
but then again,
cookie cutter all of a sudden.
But I think you also, sometimes you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, I don't want any of this anymore.
Yeah.
Like this has no meaning anymore to me. So, yeah.
And we went through that with our house, like before this TV show, and found out they were coming to film there a whole day. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get everything done. And my home is very eclectic.
Oh, me too.
I have some, it's very transitional, I guess, because you've got the traditional and you've got the contemporary that I put together. I'm not sure that's the way I would have, if I were going to go out and buy all new stuff, exactly what I would have done. But it makes me feel happy when I'm there.
Well, and I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's even when you're looking at houses and you're going on the tour, you need to remember this is the builder's vision of what the public is wanting right now. And then if that builder does allow you to do some choices or some changes, then if you don't like the granite you see in their house, maybe you could change the granite. If you don't like the wall color, maybe you could change the wall, not necessarily in that house, but if you were to semi-custom or custom build a house with them. So it's important to look at that and not think this builder only does this exact look. That builder is trying to figure out a way to please the majority of the public. But at the same time, when you're their client, they're going to want to figure out a way to please you and get the result for you. So take all of that with a grain of salt when you look at it, because, and I will say there are some builders that they do a certain look. That's what they do, and that's all. And you don't make changes. You pick A, B, or C, and you're done. And so that's where you ask those questions when you're in those homes.
Our model with Envision for the last, got second place last year in the Parade of Homes, is Modern Farmhouse. And it's amazing how many people have walked through that model and they're like, yeah, I love the quality, but I don't want Modern Farmhouse. And I'm like pulling out the book. Well, look, we do stucco, we do brick, we do stone, we do, whatever look you want. Yeah. But I think you brought up a really important point. Some questions to ask a builder. And one of them is it truly a custom home?
Right.
Because I think there are a lot of quote unquote custom home
and
builders.
How is that priced?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think there are some quote unquote custom home builders who you may think you're doing a custom home, but you really have a choice between these 3 backsplashes and those 2 tiles. And we're only going to put this carpet in or this floor.
Which is what I call a semi-custom.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're spot on with that one. And, some builders will charge you every time you want to speak with them, or, they will not change things because this is the way they've done it. This is the way they always do it. And it's semi-custom.
Right. And a couple of things. Almost every builder has their own contract. Some builders use the standard contract or contracts. So even asking, can I have a copy of the contract that is used, could be really helpful.
That's really important.
I think also asking how they handle change orders, how they handle communication. Yeah, I only know of one, but the one company that there's like, you literally have a certain number of ability to email them times.
8 times. I might happen to know that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
8 times in 8 months, 8 or 9 months that you're building a home.
Yeah,
That's
it's interesting. It's very
a little bit of
interesting. Yeah, but we could get into that at another time. But
yes.
I think
we digress.
Yeah, I do think though that, and like I was saying, how do you know how do you get charged when you're building a custom home?
Yes.
It's really interesting because, you know, it used to be that a lot of builders would do, this is how much it costs as long as you stay within my selections.
And the selections may not be that model home that you're in, because they may have done all the bells and whistles with that model home. So they're like, yeah, well, it's not really this. Like this will cost you X amount more.
Yeah,
to get all of
ask
those
what's
things.
an upgrade. But then when it comes to the custom package, then it's like, if you use the granite in this category or tile in this price point, or then we're going to stay within this budget. Lately, a lot of them have not been able to do that because the prices have changed so much that it's cost plus. So it's the cost of the material and the labor plus a percentage to them. Which
is a little scary.
Yeah, it is.
Because cost plus, you may not have an actual number, may have a number-ish.
Right, and that's why we've been in a yin and a yang, because you've got the builder saying, I don't want to go out on a limb and agree to a price at the end that I don't know I can support.
They can't stay in business.
And then the buyer says, I only have financing up to this amount of money, so I've got to build it for this. So that's been that push-pull that we've been really struggling with some. It's settling out a little bit, but it's still a push-pull right now. So all those things are really good questions to ask. One of the greatest things, though, is if you can go on this tour and you can see all these houses and you can go, that's the exact house I want in the neighborhood I want. You know, having come from a design background, it sounds great to build your house custom and get exactly what you want. But I'll tell you, it can be very disappointing because you go through the process and exactly what you want. Sometimes what you see in your head and what ends up happening isn't exactly the same, and you can be disappointed. The other thing that can happen is you go and you think, I want this look and this tile, and you go and it's 3 times your budget.
Right.
And so it's an interesting thing. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I think that if you can find a builder that does majority what you like and make a few changes, that's really ideal.
Yeah,
it really is, because then you get a little bit of a say in it, but at the same time,
you're not going to mess yourself up. Because you know, it's frustrating for me when I walk into a house and I'm like, oh, this was built in 1976, or I walk into a house, oh, this is 2001. Like, it has a very distinctive look, and you know exactly when it was built.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing, is when you're too on trend with a house, like, you know, let's think about that heavy Mediterranean that every house was for a long, long time. And now, you know, a lot of people walk in and that just, it feels pretty dated to them.
Yep.
And so, you know, it's almost
like it's early 2000s.
And it was such, I mean, everybody wanted that. And it was beautiful at the time. I mean, it looked, you know, that was the look we all wanted. I mean, it was country French. Then it was Mediterranean.
I still love country French.
Yeah. And you know what? The country French houses, they're really holding up. I mean, they're doing, I like when they really modernize the country French house, and just it does a great upgrade. It's kind of like when 80s houses started being upgraded, and you're like, this looks so good. And it's like country French, I think, is doing kind of that same, and it's the not so much, and you know, then and the country French and the Mediterranean blends, and it was like people kind of went from one. And it was kind of like that lighter country French went to that real heavy Mediterranean.
Yes.
And so a lot of times people will think it's country French, but it's really heavy Mediterranean.
Right.
So, you know, it's just one of those things. But
and that's one of the great things, like with paint colors. So I was very into the country French. I mean, my walls were Laura Ashley Old Gold number 5, I think was the exact paint color I had. And I loved it. But then, because I didn't texturize and do some of those things with the walls, then I'm able to come in and put whatever it is, Revere pewter in there, and it changed the entire look. It made it updated and lighter.
Yeah, paint is a miracle.
Oh,
and cheap.
Truly,
I mean, it doesn't feel
miracle.
cheap when you're writing the check, I know, but compared to what it would cost to do a lot of other stuff, it's so inexpensive to just paint, and to clear the palette and bring it up a little bit. Yeah, I think it's also funny though. We all think that wherever we are, I mean, that's one of the great things.
It's the most beautiful trend ever, like big
It'll never
80s
go
hair.
out. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, I was sort of in it because I was walking around not too many years ago thinking, wow, who would have thought that white is going to be the new avocado green for kitchens? Like, I mean, and I have a white kitchen. I mean, but it is so funny because it's like everybody did. When I first started in interior design, everybody had done avocado green and that harvest gold.
Oh, yeah.
And over by Utica Square, it was a lot of pink. It was like a lot of this, like pink and green and white, like kitchens.
Crochet is back. The 1970s is back and big. I love it.
It's beautiful, but in the kitchen, it was a little much. Because they had the green, they had the green fridge and all that as the wallpaper. It's funny now, like a lot of people would be like, I want that. I mean, it is funny because, again, all the stuff that I did away with all those years ago, couldn't get it away fast enough. Now it's probably all moving back towards. So you think somehow you're going to find that one classic thing that's going to be good forever. And there are some really standard, tasteful, good things that'll hold up forever. But, everything's going to age. Everything's going to date. I mean, it just is. And that's okay. I mean, that's the world. And
it's almost like the older you get, like my mom still has, the hunter green and the mom and, all of those things from the 80s.
And it makes her happy.
It makes her happy. And that's awesome. So it's kind of like, you want to be super trendy, but then there's also that comfort level. So Jack and I are both on our luxury board of regents, which is our top agents, and we tour each other's homes. And there was a home that I had that was built in 1976. Like, it screamed the moment you walked in, 1976. And we did our luxury tour through there. And it was one of the few homes where everybody stopped and they were like, I have to take a picture of this wallpaper. This is what I grew up with. And oh my gosh, look at that fridge. It's avocado. And, some of the homes they walk in and they're like, oh, this is really cool. But this one was like, everybody felt so nostalgic walking through it.
What I think is funny about that is the people our age are like, oh, that's so wonderful. I don't want that, but it's so wonderful. And then the younger people that are like, I would do this today. I love it. I mean, it's sort of funny because we kind of live through, it's kind of like bell bottoms. Like we live through it. So like, we're not really allowed to do it again. I don't know. It's really fun. But I think that the most important thing is, back to going through the home.
Oh, that's right. We're supposed to be talking about the parade.
But I mean, back to it. It's like, this is exactly what we're talking about. You're really trying to find your own thing and what makes you, happy and what areas you want to be in. I mean, what fits you, school district, all that. It's just a really good overview. And, I think sometimes when people are thinking about getting their house on the market, it's a good way to go through and see what our house is looking like right now to the public. Like, what are people wanting in their homes? Because, if you're trying to sell your house, you might want to be a little bit trendy in some of the things you pick, because you are going to be on trend for the market at that moment. That's a little different than if you're doing it for yourself for a long time.
And I love to see the new stuff. Like, Instagram knows me so well because they serve up everything I want to see. But one of them is like, what are the new things in homes? And I've seen stuff like, if you have kids or dogs, there's like a pull out, almost like a pocket door that you can put across your stairs.
The gate.
Or through your laundry room.
Which is so brilliant.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, some of those you just go, why did we not think about this before? Yeah.
Or like a dog bowl station in your kitchen that actually has almost like the pot filler, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But you can just fill up the water. Like, you don't actually have to take it over to the sink and fill it up.
That makes more sense to me than the pot filler, because that way you're filling it and they drink it and it's gone. You fill it. The pot filler, you fill it,
use it once every,
and then you still have to carry it over this, and you still have to carry it over the sink and dump it. So it's saving you one trip, but it's not saving you. Yeah, but so that makes more sense. So, but it's also funny too, because it's like, through the years, all the appliances that have come and gone, like the trend in appliances. So the one that I will say is sometimes things are cool, but like when you put it in your cabinets and then it breaks and no one uses it anymore, or they like you've put your cabinets around it. So I think some of this you got to commit to, and you got to really go, is this something I want to do, that I'm going to take this chance on?
Right.
Like, yeah, it's sort of interesting because it's like now there's this kind of move against microwaves above the stove, which is, I have the microwave above the stove.
Me too.
I'm living with it and it's fine. But it's just so funny because it's like there's so many people like, that is the worst idea ever. And I want to say, yeah, it's not the greatest design if you think about it now.
But
when you
it's
have
convenient.
the drawer, but it's convenient and it does the job. So it's like, am I going to go out and completely change my kitchen to get that done? No. But if I ever do redo my kitchen, then I would probably do something different. Yeah. But it's like, that's an example of things change and the technology gets better over time. But there's a lot of stuff, that it's truly a trend, and it's going to be like here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
two of my favorite trends. One is like the phantom blinds that you can put outside.
They're great.
That if you haven't seen these, please Google it, because they're these amazing, and that just happens to be the brand I'm talking about. But they're blinds that come down, keep the mosquitoes out. You can literally have an outdoor space that is available to you 365 days a year. The other thing,
I sell those.
Do you really?
Yeah, I really do.
Do you really?
I really do. Okay. Not Phantom, but I sell my own line. Yeah. We'll talk later.
We do need to talk later. I need you to come look at my backyard. Okay. I'm so excited. How did I not know that?
I do the roller blinds, the whole thing. Yeah.
What?
Just one of the things I do.
We learn every day about each other. It's so funny.
But
the other thing is, and I would have thought this was such a waste before, the prep kitchen, or like an area where you can have all your gadgets.
Butler pantry, like a true 1930s, 1940s butler pantry. Yeah,
yes.
It's very
not just the walk through with your wine glasses.
Yeah. And that when I first started design, that was so common in those older homes. That it was like they had a true butler pantry and a prep kitchen. It's actually an old trend coming back, but it's so cool to see it being done better.
Yeah.
The other thing that was very common back then was that a lot of kitchens in Tulsa were built, they were kosher kitchens. And so there were two kitchens within one house.
Really?
Yeah, that was very common over by Utica Square. And then, over time, they've been converted into one big kitchen or kind of broken into those kind of things.
Yeah. But yeah, I want my microwave. I want all my appliances. I want them.
All the ugly stuff you don't want to look at.
Yeah, that you're not using every day in an area. And it doesn't even, to me, have to have a sink or whatever. But I love the idea of actually having like two fridges.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go to the garage for everything, which we already know my garage is packed full of stuff. Yeah, we're not gonna digress into that. But exactly. I would love to have a prep kitchen, and I don't have a pantry right now. Like, I would love a pantry, a real pantry.
No, I get it. I think it's great. I mean, I barely open a can. So.
Yeah. Now, what are your favorite? What do you see in new construction that you really like?
I still like the open concept, but I like that we're going to some more what I call womb rooms. Where it's like smaller, cozier,
which kind of became a trend after COVID, because all of a sudden we didn't want to be in the same room with our kids studying and our spouse working, and
you have the dishwasher going, and you're trying to watch a movie, and somebody else is sitting at the bar talking to someone while they're washing dishes, and I just think that it's nice in one respect, but it's all so much, and like I've always loved. I think it's my love of Midtown, classics. There was always those kind of Chesterfield sofa, paneled room. I just like that feeling of kind of old school, that
a man cave. Like that's kind of the
idea.
Yeah.
Or, for a woman, it can be
a she shed
or a a retreat for her. So I like that. I like that kind of individualism. Mine is more architectural than it is technological. I think technology is cool.
See, I'm all about that.
I'm a tech person. I like tech, but it's I'm always afraid of it because I was the one who put the speakers in all of the rooms, and then it was like within a year, it was like everyone went to Sonos, and no one even has any. I mean, so it's like, some of that stuff. I'm always a little hesitant to be the first adapter if it's a built-in thing.
Yes.
So I love like Sonos, being able to move it around your house or do those things. I like those kind of things more. And I think that we're with AI and with everything, it's going to change so much.
Oh yeah.
That it's almost like, I don't know if right now is a real good time to be doing too much crazy tech stuff in your house, as much as kind of hold a minute and see what the next couple of years does, because I think we're going to have automation we can't even imagine.
So I'm going to
smart home is going to become
really stupid smart.
Right. Yeah. I mean, seriously, I think you're really going to have AI, monitoring your heat and air and figuring out how to make it the most efficient so your temperature goes up when you're not. I mean, some of those things I know a lot of people are afraid of. It's very invasive, but I think those are things that will be, they truly could be the planet saving things, because they're doing for us what we don't know how to do for ourselves.
Yeah.
And, if we can get it to where that's working in the background all the time, I think we're going to have a lot more of that, like even with lighting systems and all that. So,
and I'm going to quote a dear friend of mine, Mick Cornett, who was he was my co-anchor in Oklahoma City at 𝐘𝐨𝐿, was the Oklahoma City mayor for 14 years, very beloved, great guy. But he gave a great analogy of how quickly things change. When his mom passed away and he went back to her house, the phone in her bedroom was the exact phone, the same phone plugged into the wall for you young people. Yes, they used to have to be plugged in. And literally he picked it up and there was a dial tone. Like he can remember prank calling people on this phone. That phone had been through the test of time.
Right.
And yet we get a new iPhone every year, So when you start looking at, there are certain things that, yes, the phone
we're speeding up the advancement.
Yes.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Yes. And it almost was with like the iPhone, iPad, that all of a sudden technology became so quickly changing that, yes, that phone that you plug in still works and that technology is there. But if you want to be tech savvy, you have to have the latest and greatest that's changing every 6 months.
Right. That's what the comedy writer, commentary comedy, Molly Ivins wrote about the difference between Texas, Dallas and Fort Worth. And she said, Fort Worth is the kind of town, or Dallas kind of town, when someone says, I need to get rid of that, I've had it for over a year. And then Fort Worth is the kind that says, well, that phone has been good since 1955. It works good. Why would I replace it? I think kind of where you are and who you are. I mean, it's like, it is funny. And, it's funny too how some people, I am not nostalgic. I'm just not.
Oh, I totally am.
I'm really not. I mean, I love thinking about, I remember my first time being in New York City, and I remember everything about that. So it's not like I don't, I'm dead inside. I mean, I think I'm a little bit of that, but in general, I'm more excited. Like people are, I want to live to be so old. I'm like, I really just live long enough to see what the next thing is. I just think it's so, because who would have thought when we had cell phones, who would think now, back then, you couldn't even imagine it. What is the thing now that's going to be in 10 years that we couldn't even imagine now? I think that's so cool.
I remember watching the Jetsons and you're like, I would never want a phone where somebody can see me because I might not be,
right. Or Dick Tracy
show
on
ready.
Your wrist.
Yeah. And now we have all that, FaceTime, baby.
Well, so much of it.
Zoom.
They say too that they say, God, I'm getting to be that old guy. No, when you look at technology and how it changes, a lot of it comes from science fiction movies and Star Trek, the sliding doors. That's where they got the idea to do those in grocery stores. Was from Star Trek. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And the reality is when they did that, they had two guys with pulls that would just pull the doors open. And that was how they would do that effect on Star Trek. But eventually there's somebody watched that and went, we need to do that for.
Yeah.
And so now that's when you walk in and the doors open like that and close at a grocery store, that's from Star Trek. I mean, it's interesting. We imagine things. And I think that's even when it comes to the, what we're talking about with the home tour, some of these things are interesting. Imagine this. And so it's cool to see it, whether or not you adopt it yet.
Yes.
Or a version of it, then, it's in the early adopters. There's people who buy the very first that stand in line to buy the very first new iPhone, the very first new anything. And then there's people like me that like, well, let's work the bugs out.
Exactly. No, I had my Crackberry forever, and everybody switched.
Oh God, Kristen was always
Blackberry, and I loved it because you could actually like text, and your fingers would hit the right keys, as opposed to the iPhone. And it took me forever to switch over because I was like, no, I love my I'm addicted to my Crackberry.
Yeah. And there was a lot of things
about
BlackBerry
now.
Not around. I think it is around, but not.
Same thing with Skype and Zoom. Like COVID hit, and my team, when I had my social media team, and half of them were in Nashville, we Skyped all the time.
Yeah.
And Skype missed the train when COVID happened, and Zoom came right in and
has continued to. I mean, I still have so many Zoom meetings, and it's great. Yeah, I think and that's the thing too. Like that. Think about how you can now have I'm on a national board, and I know you're in a lot of them, and it's like you do the Zoom meeting, and it's the same as we all are in the same room. And in some ways, it's great because you can record it, you can have transcripts off of it. I mean, there's all those things. I mean, that's the thing. You and I are so into AI and ChatGPT and all the things that we can do with it. And it's just amazing. Like it is getting to the place where if you really take advantage of those things, it can make your life so much better. You don't have to get on a plane, go be there, get in a hotel, be away from your family. I mean, it's like you can literally have a 2-hour Zoom meeting and then go do your thing.
Yep.
I mean,
no travel time.
No travel time. And so,
even if it's across town, no travel time.
Yeah. So I think there's so many things like that again that I think we're going to see more of. I think it's going to be where your TV becomes more like whenever somebody calls, you just answer it there, and they'll be like in the room.
Hopefully you're dressed.
Yeah. Or but I mean, isn't that kind of the way it is now? Like it's sort of funny too with FaceTime. Like I think it's funny with FaceTime when someone will do it, and then all of a sudden, you realize that they accidentally FaceTime. They don't really want to FaceTime you, but it's nice too. Like there's times my best friend lives out of state, and it's so nice. There's times when we will literally be 3 hours in our pajamas, just crying, talking, laughing, giggling, eating ice cream.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you've had that time, and other times you just want to talk on the phone because you don't want to do it. But yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think it'd be very cool. So come out to the home tour and see what's available for the future.
And so how do you do this for those of you who may have not have been living under a rock and have never done the Parade of Homes? Sorry, that wasn't very nice, but it's like a big thing for a week and a half.
Yeah.
But you can go get a brochure that tells you all the neighborhoods. It's $1.
So if you're my age, go to Quick Trip and spend $1 to get a printed book.
If not, they have an app for that. And even it's funny.
And then if you're Cindy's age, which we're the exact same age, get the app. So maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't an age thing; it's a mental thing.
Well, I found it funny. On the front of the Parade of Homes book is the QR code to get the app.
Oh, funny.
So it's like, oh, okay. But
spend $1 to do the app.
Exactly. Well,
and I probably would be the idiot who would go buy it and then do the app. But I have a backup.
Exactly. You have your Atlas or whatever those things are we used to have in our cars.
I have gone to where I do not print out directions. I just
way to go.
But my car, I can plug it in now. My car will just direct me there. So
oh my goodness gracious. So yes, so it runs the 15th through the 23rd, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please do not
and
show up.
You can start at any house.
Yes, you can go in any neighborhood, any house, but don't show up at 6:45 or 6:59 and expect to go through the home. My builder and I were just talking about that yesterday, and he's like, just so you know, lock the doors 5 minutes ahead of time or you will be there until 8:30.
Yeah.
So try to be respectful of all of us agents who are there. We'll be there the next day.
And just a public service announcement, don't do the same at restaurants. Whenever they're about to close, don't go order a big meal. Yeah.
And if you need to go to the bathroom someplace else at a Quick Trip or wherever.
Yeah, and that's really, you don't want to be taking up the bathroom for whenever people are trying to visualize everything and they're walking through and the door's locked and it's not good form.
And one of my builder friends had somebody who went in and they had toilet paper there, but decided, I guess, to wipe with their hands and wipe it all. I mean, Like literally somebody came up and told them your bathroom's a mess, and they walked in and they had to actually shut down for 2 hours to clean up. Like treat these homes the way you want to be treated. Don't carry in drinks. Strollers are a big thing, just so you know. Generally the builders, because they will tear up the baseboards,
leave
they'll
the
tear up the
stroller
floor.
out and carry the baby.
Exactly right. You're not going to smoke. Please don't bring in a soda.
So right.
I know. I'm like, who smokes in someone else's house? But okay, whatevs. But there are certain rules that, please, because this is an investment. These builders have either put cash, they have a construction loan.
Well, it's even more than
property.
that. It's going to be somebody's home. So, like we need to respect the future buyer. And some of the houses in the past, I don't know how much of this now, but a lot of times the house had already been sold and the people were gracious enough to allow the builder to have it on the parade. So then you really had to be sensitive. Of course, the builders will do whatever they have to do to make it like a brand new house afterwards. But
And also one of the other suggestions I have is, a lot of the builders will have you put on booties so you're not tracking in,
especially if we get rain or different things.
Stuff from outside. What I prefer, because I think those booties can sometimes help you slip, so what I do is I generally wear tennis shoes with socks. So I'm not walking barefoot through somebody's house, and I'll just take off my tennis shoes and wear those socks around.
And this time of year, even if you want to wear like slides, like socks and slides, barefoot, you may not want it because you're walking over where everybody else has been walking. So that's like, but I mean, 'cause a lot of people a lot of people are in flip flops and they just take their flip flops off. So I mean, like, that happens.
Ew. But ew. So it's sort. I do the same thing when I travel. Like I wear tennis shoes with socks. So when I have to take off my shoes, I got my socks, and so I'm just trying to help you be prepared. But leave your drink in the car. Don't leave your baby in the car, but leave your stroller outside.
Oh my, yeah.
Well, sometimes it's like,
don't leave your baby in the car and come in and smoke in the house. These are just some general etiquette and safety protocols.
It's sad we have to say it's sort of like, don't use your hairdryer in the shower. No, don't do that. Did we even have to say that is crazy? So, but please come out and join us. There's so many great builders.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Really, and just even ideas, even if you're not thinking about new construction, just ideas for your own home or just to see what the latest trends are, even if it's an ooh-ah kind of thing. Yeah. I just think it's so fun.
So fun. So fun. And Cindy will be there 1 to 7.
Forever. In fact, somebody asked me the other day, they were like, well, can you, meet me for a glass of wine? And I'm like, before the 15th, yes.
Yeah.
After
the 23rd.
Yeah. Then I have no life. Mm-hmm. And but that's all right. We're going to sell a lot of homes. By the way, people are looking more at new construction than they have in a very long time.
Sure.
So I love that.
Interest rates popped down a little bit this last week too, which will be helpful.
Goodness.
So you can get locked in if you find the house you like. That's good. So lots of incentives.
Envision Homes.
Any good builder. There's a lot of there'll be good incentives too. So it's a good time to kind of shop incentives that the builders are going to provide too. So
exactly. All right. So that's kind of a get real about the Parade of Homes. Hopefully you will come check it out, or if you're not in Tulsa, you will check out the Parade of Homes in your area. Just kind of a fun hobby thing to go out and look.
And if you're not in new construction, there will be a lot of open houses of secondary houses. So go out and check those out or do both. So.
I never do open houses during the parade because I literally was next to a parade home, had an open house, and no one came through my open house.
It does suck a lot of the life out of open houses. But,
Hey, but all right.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Get real.
Get real.